Hi guys, my name is Miles and welcome back to the channel. For those who don't know, I have schizophrenia, and this has led to a lot of hospitalizations over the years. If you've followed my channel closely, you may know about a few of them. Recently in therapy, I've been talking about my very first hospitalization, and what came up as I was kind of thinking about how that went is how scared I was, and how uncertain I was, and how little I knew about what the experience was going to be like. So I decided to make today's video titled, Help! I'm going to the psych ward for the first time, and in fine print, what do I need to know? So for this project, I'm going to assume that you are going in voluntarily, which basically means you are going in on your own terms. Somebody is not forcing you to go, or you're not having an ambulance or an EMT team take you against your will. Now, there are definitely differences between adult wards and adolescent wards, but for today, I'm mainly going to focus on tips that everyone can use. All right, here we go. So my first tip is do not panic. It's not the end of the world. The more calm you are, the better. Panicking, while it is absolutely justified, is not necessarily going to do you any favors. Now, I'm not talking about just the general anxiety you might feel going to a new place. I'm talking about losing your head when it could be prevented. Now, for people who deal with panic attacks or who deal with severe anxiety, this is something you want to pre-prepare for. Have your grounding box with you. Go with a trusted friend or family member, and make sure that you have every possible technique in your toolbox to get you through this experience. Now, I'm only primarily talking about going from the ER to the psych ward. That can be one of the most stressful experiences, but it's a lot easier if you're able to remain calm. And another slight pointer on this one, if you are not able to remain calm by yourself, most ERs will forcefully calm you down. Whether this is by restraining you or this is by forcefully giving you medication. If you are super upset, that is all on the table. So once again, if you can remain calm, that's the best way to do things. My next tip is to prepare a list of contacts beforehand. Once you get onto the ward, you're going to want to make phone calls, but most wards are not going to let you take your cell phones with you. A lot of people these days have a long list of contacts they have not memorized, and so when you're without your phone, it's really helpful to have a written down list of all of the most important numbers to you so that you can make calls from the ward to the outside world. And believe me, every time I've gone in, that list has remained in my pocket throughout the day so that I can go jump on the phones whenever they're available. My next tip has to do with clothing choices. If you have time before going to the ER to commit yourself, it is so important to pick out safe clothing. And when I say safe clothing, this is a ward rule that is pretty unanimous in most places that you're going to go. And when I refer to safe clothing, that just means clothes that you're going to be able to wear once you get out of your hospital gown that will be approved to be on the ward before you get the rest of your clothing approved. Normally, after it's been checked, you are allowed to have access to the outfit that you were wearing when you were brought in. And if you want to pick safe clothes, here are a few of my tips on what does and doesn't go. 1. Do not wear sneakers or any shoes with laces. Slides are fine, some flip-flops are fine, but avoid anything that gets tied. 2. Avoid any clothing items that have ropes. So I'm talking about the little ropes that you pull to tighten the hoodie on your jacket. I'm talking about any of those pants that have tie ropes around them, around the waistband, anything like that, that is just going to be immediately taken from you, so I would avoid that at all costs. I'm just going to touch on this lightly, but if you're a female, you want to wear undergarments that don't have any underwires. Those will immediately be perceived as a weapon. So if you wear undergarments without any underwires, you'll most likely be able to keep them. And yes, this makes a world of difference. If you know, and if you don't, God bless you. Moving right along, my next tip also has to do with a little bit of clothing and with temperature. Most wards, oddly enough, sit somewhere between cold and absolutely freezing. So, if allowed, bring a safe jacket. A jacket with no ropes, ties, or anything like that, but a jacket that will definitely keep you warm if you get there and go, I thought I was going to a hospital, not Alaska in the winter. Some wards, oddly enough, will actually allow you to bring blankets from home, which can be very helpful. But if not, you are welcome to badger the staff so that they'll give you more than one. Some places will absolutely not allow this, while others will give you as many as you want. That's going to kind of have to be something that you figure out once you get there. All wards are different, but generally, if they won't allow you to bring a blanket from home, they will offer you at least one once you get there. However, if you've already brought an approved jacket, this gives you 2 methods of staying warm, which makes all the difference. This next tip has to do with medication. If you are on medication, make sure that your current meds are approved by the staff and the psychiatrists before you are officially admitted. So the worst thing is going to the ER, being sent up to the psych ward, getting to the psych ward at an ungodly hour of some sort, and then finding out that they either don't carry your medication or need further approval to give you your meds. If you're on medication, you want to bring it to the ER in the original bottles that have your name, your psychiatrist information, and everything there so that they can be seen and acknowledged. Depending on when you're admitted, the on-site psychiatrist may not be there, so this is something that you'll have to talk with staff about. However, most of the time, if a ward doesn't carry your medication, you will go without it until the psychiatrist is back on site and can approve it. A lot of the times people don't have to worry about this, but as new medication comes out more progressively, some wards are finding that they don't have them on site. And this has happened to me before, which is very, very important since I cannot miss my medication. So it's definitely something to pre-check with the hospital if you can call ahead of time and speak to the psychiatrist on the ward, or you can speak to someone who has that information and make sure that they have what you need so you don't go without it. Not even a single night. A lot of times if they don't have your medication on hand, they will allow family members to bring it in to you. It just has to be approved by the psychiatrist before you get it. And honestly guys, this is probably my most important tip, because for those who are on medication, missing even a single day can be disastrous. My next tip of the day is make peace with losing basically all of your privacy. The sooner the better. Now, I'm not talking about the inconvenience of having a sibling walk in on you in the bathroom. I'm talking about having no personal privacy whatsoever. A lot of times this will mean that staff will see you indisposed in one way or another. You may have somebody watching you while you use the bathroom or change your clothes, and you're definitely not going to have the same privacy you would have in your wardroom as you would in your bedroom. Sometimes the doors will remain open, nothing locks, and your life can kind of feel like it's being put on display. But don't worry, you're not alone. Centuries of people have gone through the exact same thing. And if you can't sleep while having somebody watch you sleep, then clearly you need medication. That was a joke. If you can't sleep while someone's watching you, you are normal. But of course, the hospital's not going to tell you that. Anyway, moving on. I'm not going to do this today. A lot of the time, if you have harmed yourself or may harm yourself again, you will be put on what is called a 1-to-1, which basically means you have a tour guide who's going to be with you every waking hour and every sleeping hour and every hour in between, making sure that you're not doing anything that you're not supposed to. These people will be glued to your hip, so it's best to just make peace with the fact that you guys are going to be buddies for the next few days, or sometimes up to a week. It just depends on the situation. But the more you go with the flow on that, the better. Anybody who kind of fights the system just ends up being more and more frustrated as time goes on. So early acceptance is definitely a selling point. Next, I would tell you to prepare for boredom. While some wards have a lot going on and have activities and therapy sets to attend, you do still have a whole day in which to do other things when you're not going between a therapy session, seeing your psychiatrist, or going to groups. And a lot of times you will find that you grow bored very quickly. So my best advice is to bring things along to help cure that boredom. A lot of times wards will have items that you can already use there on hand, like books, coloring materials, paper, pencils, and whatnot. Now they're not going to be normal pencils, but bear with me. So you will have some of those things on hand, but a lot of times your family can also bring approved items to you. This could include crosswords, this could include other project books like that, and on the odd chance that you are a manga reader, manga is super great because it is immersive, and I find that I can kind of escape into a manga when I'm there and I want to forget about what's going on. So if you are a manga reader, that's another great item to have brought to you if available. Next, I want to talk about being prepared to accept medication. A lot of times if you are not on medication, or even if you are, the chance will come up that will either be introduced or changed. So if you are on a medication that's not working, it's possible during your stay you will be asked to consider other options. And if you're not on medication, this is a good and normally very safe place to trial medications while you're already there, and they can attend to you if something goes wrong, i.e. you have an allergic reaction or anything of that sort. Guys, it will happen. If things aren't working, then those on staff will seek to change them until they are, so that you can be discharged. If you're not on meds, be prepared to accept them. And if you are on meds, be prepared to have them changed or challenged. Riding on the coattails of that tip, I would say be part of the good behavior program. If you want to leave, you have to prove it. And what do I mean when I say this? It sounds like kind of like when you're in school and it's like, okay, there's going to be a big test coming, and if you want to graduate or if you want to move up a grade, you're going to need to know what's on the test. And in a lot of ways, being in the hospital can kind of be like that. You come in on a low note, you address the problems that you're having, and then you attempt to re-enter the world. But before you do that, your care team needs to be able to know that you're going to function once you leave there. This means you get to practice normal. Or at least whatever normal they decide is normal. To break that down, basically be prepared to eat on time even when you're not hungry. Get up even when you're tired to go to therapy, and go to therapy even when you don't want to. This means talking with your psychiatrist, actually using your words to express where you are, what you'd like to see change, and how they can help you do that. This also means talking to your therapist, speaking up in group therapy, and participating whenever possible. This also means accepting medications, getting to bed on time, and maintaining a positive attitude and mindset. I.e., if you come in talking about death, they're going to want you to leave talking about life. That's just how it goes. So the more often you can offer these actions, the sooner it will be that you're able to go home. Now, I'm saying this from my perspective, being that most times when I go, I don't always realize my problem until I'm there, and then I'm able to work on it, and the ultimate goal is to get out as soon as possible. After all, it's not the most wonderful place to spend a lot of time. Now, if you are going there because that's where you feel safest, or that's where you want to be, or you would like to stay there as long as you can trial different meds and get help, then that is totally okay. But at some point, regardless of how long you've been there, your care team is going to come together and discuss how you're doing. And if you are doing well, they're going to talk about release. And if you aren't, that's something they're going to be looking for. Everybody wants to go home. After a while in a psych ward, you are ready to sleep in your own bed, use your own bathroom by yourself, and eat your own food. So if you are looking to be released, those are some of my tips for how you can get there quicker. And the last tip on today's list is fully prepare yourself for discharge. There have been times that I've gone in when I've been released way before I was ready to go back to the real world. Sometimes this can be an insurance issue, sometimes this can be a space issue, and sometimes it is up to the hospital how long they're going to keep patients or how long you're allowed to stay after they feel like you've made the marked progress that they want to see. So if your day-to-day nurse shows up and says, "Hey, good news, you're going home," and you are not ready to go home, please voice your concerns with the staff. Ask to speak to the psychiatrist, talk to your nurses, your one-to-one, anybody who is able and willing to listen. You want to have success once you leave the hospital so that you don't have to go back, and this is one of those ways to plan around that so that that doesn't happen. Another thing you can do, and I encourage you to do, is to plan for outpatient therapy. If you're not already seeing a therapist, that's something that your hospital can actually give you resources for. Who you can afford, who might be in your area, who might be able to offer targeted services, all that kind of stuff. You want to plan that before you leave the hospital, and take home any resources they offer you. Most places will actually send you home with like a pamphlet of outpatient resources, so please make use of these and ask to discuss them before you leave the hospital if needed. If you have had a really long stay, and I'm talking anywhere from 2 weeks to a month, there are going to be things in the outside world that even though it's only been a short amount of time, you've forgotten. Silly things even. So one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you is to have a family friend or a family member or even just a best friend or someone close to you help you re-navigate the world once you get out. Sometimes this can mean asking someone to stay with you, join you on shopping trips, anything that you may find stressful once you've left the hospital and now have to think about these things for yourself again. Honestly, my plan is I normally have someone physically stay in my house, either from my family or my care team, and they stay with me for the first week to 2 weeks, and if I'm not doing well enough, they will intermittently stay with me after that. A night on, a night off, and then only weekends or certain weekdays. This makes a huge difference in not feeling alone once you've left a hospital chock full of people and either have to go back to living with family that you may or may not get along with, or you have to go back to living alone and you're by yourself. Anything and everything that you can do to make that process easier, please do invest in it. It makes a world of difference. All right, guys, I hope that wasn't too long-winded, but those are my tips for going to the psych ward for the first time. Things that you might need to know, remember, or take care of once you get there. Obviously, there are a lot of other things to think about, and I can't include them all in one video, but these are a few of the things that I wish people had told me before I had gone in. I hope you found this video helpful. If you've enjoyed today's list, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and comment below. Are there some tips that you would like to share that I haven't thought of? Or do you have a story that might help others? Please know the comment section is an open and safe place to share these thoughts. I love hearing from you guys, and it's nice when I can see fans and non-fans alike down in the comment section helping each other out. Go ahead and check out some of my other content available at the end of this video. I've got a few storytime videos of my own from times that I've been in the hospital, so if you'd like to relate or learn more, maybe give those a watch. I wish you all the best. Big hugs to anybody considering going to the ER or having themselves admitted to a psychiatric ward. You are not alone. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I will do my best to answer everyone's comments. All right, guys, this is Miles signing off. I love you all and stay awesome.